Things are going pretty smooth. I mean, besides all the other problems. Hello, Twitch. Let me make sure I'm just getting us live on YouTube. I know I've been gone forever. We have to tap the screen a lot and get people in here. We're going to go over primarily the congressional debates around the big disgusting bill. And they're super important. I've been losing my mind screen recording these all day. Is that a clip? Hold on. Just been having so much trouble with YouTube and Streamlabs. Okay, there we go. It's working. Give me one more second to just finish up getting live on YouTube, and then we will start the people's receipts. Okay, I think I did it. Hello, hey Toodle, you're in the YouTube chat. Hey Steph. Oh, I know, I haven't seen you in a while, Steph, and I think I needed to read. Yes, I also want to say 4 days ago, I think you sent a super chat. I'm buying the Tylenol for the headache Nikki has given us. I wasn't sure if I read that out loud or not, so I just wanted to thank you. I figured you'd probably be in here early, so in case I didn't read that aloud during debates when so much was going on. Thank you so, so much. Okay. Sorry. As you guys know, I'm in Denver, just taking a little break from the heat in Arizona and other things. So I almost forgot how to set this live up mechanically, but we have so much to talk about today. The Senate, Trump is trying to force his big, ugly trash heap of a bill through the Senate, and it is fascinating to watch. So what I've been doing is screen recording the debates on the Senate floor, or, the best ones. And hopefully until, just like we did when the bill was going through the House, I'm going to try to cover as much of the relevant stuff as I can this week. That is the plan. Keep tapping the screen, share the live. God, TikTok Studio changed again, and I swear I don't know where anything is in this app. Okay. Just making sure. Yeah, this is crazy. Also, if you would like to subscribe, as you can see, not doing the people's receipts for a couple of weeks. We're down to 357 subscriptions. If you would like to subscribe or buy a subscription from someone else, that yellow star in the left hand corner is how you subscribe. If you're like, you keep saying share the live, I don't know how. Thanks, Chris, for the galaxy and for the great time debating last night. That was so fun. I had such a great time. Chris and I did some debates last night. The replay is on YouTube. If you didn't catch it, it was a bunch of crazy people. An absolute bunch of crazy people, but it's fun to watch. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, sorry, I need to change the gift goal, not the. Okay, give me 1 second to update the gift goal, and then we're going to start because I have so many clips to get through. We have so much to talk about with the big, beautiful bill. It is going to be, we're going to laugh, we're going to cry. I just love this art. Sometime if we ever have time, I'm going to show you guys this like 100 slideshow thing I made of all the best protest signs and artists that are making them. And I just get such a kick out of them every time I look. And how long is this pencil? How long did this take? Art is resistance, as we are learning. Okay, let me set up. I have to make this bigger. Sorry. Changes to YouTube Studio are confusing me. Okay. Let me just find where I want to start. Okay. I'm just going to say a couple things before we get to the clips of the debates around the big, ugly trash heap bill. The first thing I just want to touch on is Tom Tillis, which I'm sure everyone knows about this, and I'm going to play his speeches on the House floor today. So don't worry, we'll see those. But I just want to go into what's actually going on in case people are like, what? So what happened on Saturday night is that the bill, they moved, the Senate voted 51-49 to move the bill to the floor, the reconciliation bill to the floor. So now there's going to be, I think, an entire reading of the bill, floor debates, then there's going to be amendments that can be proposed, all of these things. Trump wants this all done, the whole bill passed back to the House and done, I think, by July 4th. As Tom Tillis says, a random arbitrary date that means absolutely nothing. So again, Tom Tillis joined Democrats along with Rand Paul to vote against the bill to move it to the floor. So he actually, before he got on the House floor and was like, I'm not voting for this, he voted for it to not even get to the floor.
Paper is more sophisticated now.
I'm trying to think. And then Trump started trashing him, which we'll get into that in chronological order. But I wanted to read this quote from him, one of his quotes, because I think it's really good. As a result of Trump attacking him all Saturday night, all Sunday, he decided not to seek re-election. And I always talk about this. Tom Tillis has said and done a ton of things that bother me. But when I truly start thinking about what's the answer to this now, the good news of Tom Tillis not seeking re-election is North Carolina is a swing state. We have an amazing chance to get a Democratic senator in there. But I mean, you can bet when Trump was saying we're going to primary you, it's going to be with another crazy person, or let's say someone with hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's what really bothers me. Every time someone like a Tom Tillis or a Mitt Romney or all of these people leave, which, hey, I'm not going to personally miss them. What truly keeps me up at night is who's next up for the Republicans. It's going to be a wacko who's a Trump sycophant and cannot do math. So here's Tillis's quote, which he's basically saying, hey, I'm just not going to be a yes man for Trump anymore. It's become increasingly evident that leaders who are willing to embrace bipartisanship, compromise, and demonstrate independent thinking are becoming an endangered species. I look forward to solely focusing on producing meaningful results without the distraction of raising money or campaigning for another election. I look forward to having the pure freedom to call the balls and strikes as I see fit, meaning now I don't have to lie for Trump anymore. I'm free. Which, congratulations, Tom. I actually do agree. I mean, it must be a nice feeling you no longer have to be a Trump sycophant. I mean, watch your back, though, because he is trying his best to send his minions after him. And I'm not gonna read the other quotes that he said on the House floor because I think because like I said, I have the clips. But the other thing I want to read, which I kind of touched on, if North Carolina would be a massive pickup for Democrats next year in the Senate, if Republicans nominate a far-right MAGA nut and Dems can field a strong candidate like Roy Cooper, which Roy Cooper is fabulous. I hope it is Roy Cooper. They certainly can do it. So that's the irony of elections, though. We actually do want to go up against the craziest person. Like, think of John Ossoff in Georgia hoping Marjorie Taylor Greene runs. The crazier, probably the better, especially after this. Here's the more disturbing part, though. Lara Trump is from North Carolina, hasn't lived there for years, but that never stopped any conservative Senate we all know conservative Senate candidates don't need to live where they're running. They don't care one bit where they live. Thank you so much for the gift. I so appreciate it. Did I miss a subscription too? If someone subscribed, because this was $3.57. If I missed a subscription, thank you so much. Again, keep tapping the screen. Tap. Let's get to 50K as fast as possible. I know we're kind of out of practice having people in here. I've taken a 2-week break from the people's receipts, but let's get back into it. Let's get to 50K with our taps, share the live with the bottom right hand arrow, and then gift or subscribe if you want. Thank you guys so much for the support. Oh yeah, and this is my Cash App and Venmo, just like my account name. Okay. Yeah, so here we go again. Remember, Lara Trump said she only wanted to be a senator in Florida. Apparently, she would also be a senator in North Carolina. And I love Vaughn Hilliard. He's a NBC correspondent in the press corps, and he said, quote, "A source close to the Trump family says Lara Trump is strongly considering jumping in the race. Asked about the odds that she runs in the Republican primary to replace Tillis, the source says, I'd put it as high as one could be considering it. The race will be over before it begins. We truly are in hell." I do agree that she can win a primary with Trump making all these terrifying THREATSs against anyone that opposes her. But the problem is going to be if anyone wants her in the Senate, period. But who knows? We shall see. Stranger things have happened. We're living in unprecedented times. Okay. Again, we're going to move to clips in a second. I have clipped the debates on the Senate floor, or what we've seen so far, the best parts. But I just want to cover some things before we do. And this is another really important one. Of course, Ron Johnson. I am a senator in Wisconsin, but live in Florida. And Lisa Murkowski, they flipped their votes to yes at the last minute to get the bill over the finish line to move to the floor for very different reasons. Johnson wants more poor people and children to not have health insurance and to be socially engineered out of existence. And Murkowski wanted special exemptions for Alaskans. Like, imagine to fight tooth and nail and say, oh, I don't approve of this bill, I don't approve of this bill, and then organize and negotiate a secret backdoor deal because you're that aware of how devastating these Medicaid cuts will be. Keep in mind, the Medicaid cuts coming out of the House, I believe, were just over $700 billion. The bill moving to the floor of the Senate for a vote, they're $930 billion. And that's where Tom Tillis sort of went off the deep end. He's like, hey, what the House was doing was enough, and now you're in crazy town, right? And so Lisa Murkowski, instead of having a spine, as we know, none of these people effing do, instead of just saying, oh, I have a spine and I'm going to stand up for all Americans who need health insurance and for children who need health insurance, Lisa Murkowski decided, hey, I will just sell out, fold like a lawn chair, and do some shady backdoor deal. But man, I love irony. And in the best thing ever, the Byrd rule got her, the Senate parliamentarian who's overlooking so many shady things that I don't even know what is happening anymore. But not Lisa Murkowski's special non-contiguous states don't have to undergo the same type of Medicaid cuts as everyone else. That one's not going to pass, right? Non-contiguous means like non-connecting. So I guess that would be like Hawaii, and that would be like Alaska, because they don't technically connect to the lower 48 states, then they somehow are exempt from it. And the Senate parliamentarian said, no, I don't think so. So Lisa Murkowski thought she was going to slide that through there. No one was going to know. And this was just going to be her deal. Don't worry, Alaskans, I'd fight for you. And before we all just listen, I don't like what Lisa Murkowski did, but it's hard. Think about it if you're a senator and it's your job to protect your state. Is it bad what she did? Or would you do anything you could to get a carve out for your state and the people that elected you? That's a hard one. I mean, I don't like it. I think it's ridiculous. If you really understand that a bunch of Alaskans are going to be without health care, it's going to be devastating and people are going to be unalived, hospitals are going to close, then I would think if you understand the absolute horrific damage to the healthcare system and to the average American, that you would want that for every state and not just yours. But who am I? JS, you said Puerto Rico's territory, not a state, but yeah, Puerto Rico's, this is not going to have anything to do. Yeah, non-contiguous states is how this little carve out was written, but it's now not going to happen. So I find this hilarious. Yeah, okay, it does say, I'm sorry, I forgot I had this written. This is from the New York Times. A new provision allowing individuals in a non-contiguous state to be exempt from enforcing new work requirements imposed on SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, appeared to be aimed at mollifying Murkowski. Her state would be hit with billions of dollars in nutrition assistance costs as a result of the legislation, and she had cited the provision as one of her chief concerns. The bill also includes new health provisions designed to benefit Alaska, as well as new tax benefits for fishermen in the state's waters. So Murkowski secured a better deal for Alaskans while screwing over the rest of the country. Not great, but then, and this is what I was talking about. There's a great Politico article on this I read that I really like, if you're looking into it. But like I said, the Senate parliamentarian said no. So, and I'm not going to get too deep into this. Here's the other things they said no about. They also tried to things the Senate parliamentarians struck down yesterday. Senate Republicans also attempted, thank you so much, also attempted to expand a Medicare drug price negotiation exemption for orphan drugs to include medicines that treat multiple rare diseases. But the parliamentarian ruled it is not in compliance with the rules. The parliamentarian also ruled against provisions that sought to block implementation of two Biden-era regulations. Oh, here we go again. Carve-outs for corporations and rich people. The parliamentarian blocked two regulations that seek to make it easy. Wait, sorry, I think I'm saying that backwards. Also ruled against provisions that sought to block the implementation of two Biden-era regulations that seek to make it easier for older adults and individuals with disabilities to enroll in Medicaid and maintain coverage. Meaning, they are trying to do away with these provisions that Biden put in place to say, hey, old people and people with disabilities, we want to make it as hard as possible for you to get health care. These are the conservatives. I mean, the delusion of people to vote for these people. Unless you have an exorbitant amount of money, then you can't read or do math. Also flagged, there's one more. Also flagged by the parliamentarian was a provision that would prohibit implementation of a Biden admin rule on nursing facility staffing, which was estimated to reduce federal Medicaid spending by $23 billion over 10 years. And we'll get into the Lindsey Graham. Oh God, Lindsey Graham and Chuck Schumer have been funny. But I just want to touch on Elon Musk before we get into the debates on the Senate floor, the actual clips that I recorded. Okay, so Jesse Jenkins is a professor of macro energy studies at Princeton. Like all types of energy. This is a quote from Jesse Jenkins. Quote, about the bill. It raises taxes on all wind and solar projects. Thank you so much for the follow. It raises taxes on all wind and solar projects that haven't begun construction today, unless they are placed service by the end of 2027 and navigate complex, likely unworkable requirements to prove they don't use a drop of Chinese materials. After that, this bill adds a new tax on wind and solar projects that can't prove the same. And it does so while killing the tax credits to support domestic manufacturing of wind components at the end of 2027 and adding the same unworkable requirements to the credits supporting U.S. solar and critical minerals. So good for the weird sycophants. Trump accepted a bunch of money in the coal industry, but there's no such thing as clean coal. And unless you're excited for the kids to get back in the coal mines, none of this makes sense. Look, I don't love Elon Musk, but we have to move to clean energy. Like, do I love that Elon Musk owns Tesla and was benefiting from clean energy subsidies in the way he has and gets $8 million a day in government welfare? No, but we still have to move to clean energy. Just because Trump thinks it's 1945 and it's okay, we can just go back to coal. Doesn't mean we still, sane people who can think don't know we need to move to clean energy. We're about to go into a Jimmy Carter style energy crisis. And I won't get, is this about that? I'm not going to get too much into that because some of the senators really dug into that on the House floor. So we'll get into that. I'll let the senators get into that. But I just want to, I'm going to read these. This is from the same guy because this is what Elon Musk responded to when he freaked out. It'll murder our unalive. I'm just reading a quote, TikTok. It'll unalive our nascent clean energy manufacturing sectors. It actually kills the EV tax credits sooner than the House bill. I think by September 30th. So any electric vehicle tax credits are gone by September 30th this year, rather than the end of 2025. This will destroy the battery manufacturing boom taking hold across Republican districts, killing, unaliving hundreds of thousands of good jobs. And the cherry on top of this, this adds new production tax for metallurgical coal. You read that right. We're going back to coal through the end of 2029. Metallurgical coal producers get a 2.5% tax cut. This bill kills the industries of the future while subsidizing the industries of the 19th century. When Trump said we were going back to 1895, I mean, he was dead serious. It's just anyone whose brain works would not want to be part of this. Again, this is the same guy, the professor of macro energy at Princeton. Who wants this? The country's automakers don't want it. Electric utilities don't want it. Data center developers don't want it. Manufacturers in energy intensive industries don't want it. It straight up unalives. God, there's a lot of language. Unalives the boom in battery, solar, and wind manufacturing investment. It jacks up your utility bill and raises prices at the pump. It unalives $500 billion of pending investment in U.S. manufacturing and energy supply and hundreds of thousands of associated jobs. It makes our air dirtier and our climate more dangerous. Seriously, who the F, this is a quote from a professor. Who the F benefits from this besides Joe Kraft and his coal mining interests and a couple of big gas producers? This is Donald Trump. Nobody benefits from this. This is, and we'll get into it, but I love how some of the senators worded this. I'm just reading this so we can get to, I just want to cover Elmo, Space Karen, and his little meltdown. I think this is the final part. Republicans are screwing over their constituents, American business interests, and our country's future in an epic way here. And that's putting aside the fact that this cuts healthcare and food assistance for the poor to make tax cuts for the rich permanent, which is previously thought to be illegal, while blowing up the national debt to the tune of $3 to $5 trillion. What a way to make America great. I've been debating a lot. MAGA doesn't even make any sense anymore. They don't know if they're federal government first or America first, or we no new wars. We love wars. And is it states' rights or is it the federal government's rights? MAGA stands for nothing now. It's truly hilarious. Okay, this is what I wanted to get to. So Elon Musk responds to Jesse Jenkins, the professor's posts, and says, quote, "The latest Senate draft bill will destroy millions of jobs in America and cause immense strategic harm to our country. Utterly insane and destructive. It gives handouts to industries of the past while severely damaging industries of the future." Yeah, I mean, there is no excuse for any of this. At the same time, this bill raises the debt. The debt ceiling by $5 trillion, the biggest increase in history, putting America in the fast lane to debt slavery. This would be incredibly destructive to America. Now, Space Karen is a giant hypocrite, waster of money, the richest man in the world, on the most welfare. He's on $8 million of American taxpayer dollars a day. If his EV tax credits were in here and the other things he want, I don't think he'd care so much about the debt ceiling. Because the other way too, I think billionaires want our country in debt. I read a very interesting article, and I haven't done the people's receipts in 2 weeks, so you might be like, what the F are you talking about? But like 3 weeks ago, I took us through a really interesting article showing how, when we had higher marginal tax rates, billionaires were being taxed, millionaires were being taxed now, and that's where we were getting the money to pay down our debts. Now billionaires are loaning money to the American government to pay down debt. I mean, it's a great, and charging us interest, right? Instead of us just taxing them, they loan the American government money to pay off our debts. And then, I mean, this is the scam. So I doubt he cares so much about the debt ceiling. He's probably like, can't wait to write some loans and collect interest on them. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we got to Elon. Musk then showed a graphic, which I have many graphics we're going to get into, showed a graphic showing that the majority of Americans are against the bill in every single poll. Every Fox polls, I mean, Trump is, to say that I've never seen anything like this. Americans beyond hate this bill. But I think that comes from, in my opinion, like Steve Bannon is, crushing this bill, crushing like the billionaires, the tax cuts, the protections for AI, the protections for tech billionaires. So I think this bill is very much being attacked on the far right fringe by people like Steve Bannon and the alleged MAGA first, America first MAGA people, as well as being attacked from the middle and the left. So this bill's under fire at all turns, and Trump is melting the F down today, which I'll show you. Yeah, and this is an analysis of the energy crisis, but I'm not going to get too much into this because, like I said, there's so many senators that did a great job talking about this on the House floor. So I'll just go to the clips for that. But Trump was asked about the elimination of renewable energy products and incentives in the bill on Fox today. This is what he said. Oh my God. I'm not going to show him lying through his teeth with Maria Bartiromo yesterday. If you want to go watch Trump pathologically lie on Fox while they try to edit it weirdly so they don't get sued, you could go see it. But this is a quote from that. Quote, "We're doing coal. I don't want windmills, old orange grandpas mad at windmills again. I don't want windmills destroying our place. I don't want these solar things where they go 4 miles and they cover up half a mountain and they're ugly as hell." MAGA elected someone just as smart as they are. Truly, MAGA. Like, honestly, right on your intelligence level, this man. So I could see why you're so into it. I'm trying to think if I want to read any more of these. Oh, yes, because I want to do one more Elon Musk smear. I forgot. Okay. And this is from Electrek. Republicans in the Senate have now updated Trump's tax and budget bill to unalive the $7,500 tax credit for electric vehicles by the end of September. As expected, the entire thing looks like it's coming straight out of a fossil fuel industry wet dream. That's perfectly worded. That's what this is. This is like, we're going to get the kids back in the coal mines. This is creepy town, which should not be surprising considering Trump told the oil industry he would do this if they gave him over $1 billion, which they did. Yeah, these are the favors he owes to the rich. Now, here's another Elon Musk moment that I love. Quote, "The only person who appears surprised is Elon Musk. Even though Trump and the GOP campaigned on doing this with his own money," which I find this hilarious. That's the hilarious part. "The U.S. is already significantly behind the rest of the world in terms of EV electric vehicles." Angry, but this is bad for all of us. We have to switch to cleaner, more efficient energy. This is only good for billionaires and people, holding huge positions in the stock market, lobbyists, corporations in fossil fuels. It will only further isolate the U.S. from the world's transition to electric vehicles and make the domestic auto industry uncompetitive on the world stage. Great. And we'll get more into that because there's so many senators did such a good job. I think that's enough of me reading things. My literal throat hurts. So we're going to move on from that. I have a lot more things. This is another really long presentation, but I want to get to some clips in the house because they are so good. Okay. Oh, yeah. Let me do this. This is going to be confusing, but then I'm going to explain it because this seems to be a theme, and I don't really hear a lot of people talking about this. Well, maybe I'll try to explain it first. That might be more helpful. Okay. So what's basically going on, and this will come as a shock to no one, is the conservatives are lying and cheating, right? There are rules right? Which are called basically current law baseline. These are the rules under which Senate reconciliation bills have to be passed. Now,
You know that paper is more sophisticated
in
now
something
than
that none of us
computers.
should be surprised about, literally, conservatives invented new rules. They are violating the actual rules of the Senate and made up something completely different that has never existed before and never been used, called current policy baseline. So God, and not a lot of people are talking about this. So let me just read the difference between the two. And then you're going to hear people kind of mentioning this over and over when we go through these clips on the Senate floor. And then you'll be like, okay, I get it. So current law baseline, that's what we've used for every reconciliation bill ever. This approach, historically used for budget scoring and revenue impact analysis, assumes that any law with a stated expiration date, like sane people, with a stated expiration date will actually expire, right? So like, for instance, when Trump didn't extend the tax cuts for the middle class, that's why we're here now extending these tax cuts. But they were extended the entire time for, corporations and the rich, things like that. Like, it's saying we're actually going to use the real expiration dates that you put in the bill, like common sense. When evaluating new legislation, the Congressional Budget Office and the Joint Committee on Taxation score the cost of legislation against this baseline. This provides a more traditional view of how extending expiring provisions would affect the budget. For example, under a current law baseline, extending the provisions of the 2017 tax cuts, the TCJA, would show a significant cost. Now, Republicans invented their own law that's never been for their own policy baseline, which is they invented out of thin air, which is called current policy baseline. In contrast, this approach assumes that all current policies, including those legally set to expire in the bill, they will not be continued in the bill, will be extended indefinitely. Nobody could know that. Ever. They're just making this up out of thin air. This approach can make it seem as though extending expiring provisions has no fiscal impact at all. For instance, using a current policy baseline to score the extension of the TCJA would show a cost of zero. Are you getting it? This is made up fake math. Like, they just are no longer doing math. Which they're basically saying, like, if we said, hey, obviously, if you extend the TCJA, that's going to blow out the deficit and we're bringing in less tax revenue. Any accountant would see it that way. They're saying, no, we're just going to pretend that's not real. And instead of saying, if we extend the TCJA, here's what that's going to cost us in tax revenue we're not bringing in. They're just saying, we'll just zero it out as zero. This allows for permanent tax changes without violating the Byrd rule. This is crazy. We are in crazy town. So I'm just going to explain that. And I'm going to show you this first clip and then you'll be like, okay. Because the first time when I started listening to these debates, I was like, wait, I feel like I'm missing something. This is Senator Merkley. Thank you so much, Jen. I've never seen that. Thank you so much for the gift. I appreciate it. And I'll update my gift goals now. I just was focusing on doing a lot of reading, but now we'll get into the clips. This is Senator Jeff Merkley talking about what I just said. He's basically asking, hey, I just want to be clear, right? Has this ever been done before? This policy baseline the Republicans made up that goes against, every single thing we know about addition, subtraction, and things of that nature? Is this normal? And I mean, it's not. We can be clear on that.
President.
I recognize the senator from Oregon.
Parliamentary inquiry.
The senator will state his inquiry.
When the House bill was first laid before the Senate, was the operative baseline under which it would be considered the current law baseline under Section 257 of the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President.
So again, he's like, I just want to be clear that what the Republicans are doing is not legal and has never been done before. He's like, sure, yeah, that's correct. And I highlighted some of the comments underneath because I thought it would be helpful in explicating. And there it is. Merkley asked the question. The presiding officer confirms, yes, the baseline was current law. So much for MAGA's budget gymnastics. They're not rewriting the rules. They're just lying about them, which is the absolute truth. Translation, the Senate confirmed they're judging the bill against current law, not fantasy math. That means every dollar cut and every loophole open is on the record. No excuses. So again, now here's Schumer kind of go along the same line of logic, just getting on the record like, hey, can you clarify this for me? Is this normal?
Senator will state his inquiry.
Has the Senate ever used a baseline other than current law baseline under 257 for enforcement of budget points of order, including under Section 313 of the Budget Act, during the consideration of a reconciliation measure? Has it ever been used?
No.
That's no, conservatives. You just making S up. Like that would be no. It's God, it's like we're in but thank you. I love a hat. But this is the reality. They're making up an alternate reality. I'm thinking people, MAGA will not figure out what's going on. They didn't know what was going on before. And this is just another comment underneath Chuck Schumer's, which I'll say, I know we're all very annoyed with Chuck Schumer, as we all should be for all eternity. But actually, I would say he was doing a pretty good job on the floor yesterday. Trolling people. He was actually kind of funny. Boom. That's the sound of Chuck Schumer dropping a historical fact check right on the MAGA playbook. Schumer didn't just ask a question. He cornered the whole damn narrative. Has the Senate ever used a different baseline under Section 257 for reconciliation? And the answer, a flat, cold no. Translation, what Trump's GOP is trying to pull isn't just unprecedented, it's procedurally wrong. It breaks with decades of Senate budget enforcement, all to ram through a bill soaked in cruelty, corruption, and chaos. I followed this guy. I was like, this is well written. When the rules don't fit their agenda, they don't change the bill, they rewrite reality. This isn't governance. This is gaslighting in broad daylight. Can we all just tap the screen? This isn't governance. This is gaslighting in broad daylight. You want to know why I took a 2-week break? I was being gaslit 24 hours a day, not stop. That's why. This is why. I don't blame anyone who it's mentally harming and needs a break from being gaslit 24 hours a day. Which, if you can't do math, that's probably why MAGA doesn't notice it, and if you don't read, because I had to cut off, following the 24-hour news cycle. And that did, when you're clueless, it's a lot easier to stomach that you're being lied to. And Grok is spitting out, by the way, these truths. Like, people are like, Grok, is this right? And Grok's like, nope. I love when Elon's AI tool calls out Trump's lies. And this is, again, just another way to look at why the Senate Republicans are lying and inventing, new rules that don't exist. CBO sets the baseline under law. Budget committee chairs. Thank you. Budget committee chairs can make adjustments or set temporary enforcement levels, but not the baseline itself. This is how it is supposed to work in reality, not conservative gaslighting land. Section 312 enables enforcement through points of order and adjustments, but not unilateral power over baseline assumptions. Exactly what we said. You can enable enforcement through points of order and adjustments, but you cannot change the baseline, which the Republicans have now changed the baseline, which has never been done before.
That paper is more
and that's a Grok one, but
computers.
I love Senator Murray. She has been amazing. She has been tearing it up on the Senate floor. Love this woman.
As a senator from Washington.
Mr. President, I've been here a long time. Not only have I been the budget chair, I am the longest serving Democrat on that committee. And in my 33 years here in the United States Senate, things have never never worked this way, where one party so egregiously ignores precedent, process, and the parliamentarian, and does that all in order to wipe away trillions of dollars of costs for a bill that could just be the most expensive legislation this body ever passes. Forget Senate procedure for a minute. Math, Mr. President, has never worked that way. I taught preschool.
That's where you went wrong. MAGA can't do math. So that's really, I think, where the problems arise. I mean, MAGA is full of either grifters who can do math and are cheating the system to rob the poor and give more money to the rich, i.e. billionaires and corporations don't feel like feeling the effects of late stage capitalism. So let's rob the poor and socially engineer them out of existence. Or the people they are robbing, MAGA, are like, I have no idea what, they don't know what she just said, to figure out they're being robbed. Or wait, I'm sorry, there is another option. They are in such cognitive dissonance that no matter how many times they're told, no matter how many ways they're told, no matter how many people say, hey, Billy, who's making $80,000. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I just going to have to stop for this. Amazing. Thank you for the gift. Billy, who's making $80,000 a year, this isn't great for you. All we are seeing are transfers of wealth to the top of the economy. It's amazing how trickle down does the opposite. I just need to hear her say it again about the math because I love it.
Ever passes. Forget Senate procedure for a minute. Math, Mr. President, has never worked that way. I taught preschool, and I'll tell you, even our littlest kids knows the difference between $1 trillion and zero. It doesn't take a preschooler to tell you they're using magic math, or that you can't just ignore the rules you don't like. How many times have my colleagues cried about the debt? How many times have they told me, I know you want to invest in childcare, Patty, but we got to get this budget under control. But now that it's tax cuts for billionaires and corporations, suddenly the budget doesn't matter anymore. Suddenly the rules do not matter anymore. Suddenly a couple trillion goes away with a sprinkle of fairy dust. And
Preach. Gosh, I love her. We should all probably seek refuge in the state of Washington, where people still can read and do math, and the senators there obviously understand that their constituents expect them to do what's right and be able to read and do math. When she said that, even a preschooler knows the difference between zero and $1 trillion. That is how egregious this gaslighting is. That is what they are doing. They're saying that instead of doing real math, we're just going to put this down as zero. Yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing so I don't cry. Like, I already have to listen to this when I screen record them, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. But let's listen to Senator Murray go off some more. Now, this is a look. I don't have pierced ears. That's a little known fact about me. I don't have pierced ears, but maybe I should get them.
have you no shame? If you think you can look the American people in the face and tell them we have to bring down the debt after passing what might be the most expensive bill in history, if you think you can do that and then be taken seriously, well, you know what? If you believe that, maybe you are foolish enough to think that 0 and $1 trillion are the same. Mr. President, I can't believe this is what we're doing today, because I can tell you right now, if this happens, we will all laugh you out of the room, because we have never seen anything like this. Not in my time here in the Senate, not in my time on this planet. We are not going to let anyone forget that you're trashing the rules in order to pass this egregious bill.
And Mitch McConnell must be like, what the F is John Thune doing? And the Senate parliamentary, I love how she's like, because this is the way we just need to say it. Like, hey, we are going to laugh at you all. You can't read. You can't do math. For some reason, you want to be robbed. Like, none of this makes any sense. Yeah, Patty Burr is the best. Like, go Patty. She was truly furious, too. Like, it was like, oh, man. I'll say this. And actually, depending on how you look at this might be why we need changes in the Senate. I'm not speaking about her. I love Patty Murray, but it's like I was about to say, I've never seen so much fire out of Democratic senators, but it's like, is that actually an indictment on them? Like, should we not get to this point where we're all losing everything and children are going to unalive and not have, and rural hospitals are going to close before all of a sudden these people are speaking with some fire? Like, this is the most alive I ever saw Chuck Schumer. But then when I think about it, I'm like, well, maybe we should have seen that a little before, like maybe you guys should have started this sooner, cared a little bit sooner. Okay, and this is Ron Wyden, another brilliant senator I like.
From Oregon.
I want to pick up on the point that my colleague from Washington State touched on. Everybody ought to understand this is the nuclear option. It's just hidden behind a whole lot of Washington, D.C. lingo. The only difference is instead of pressing a big nuclear button right at the beginning of the Congress, Republicans decided that they'd hide behind a cloak of Senate procedure and go nuclear for every individual bill they want to pass on party lines. And I just say to my colleagues, there's going to be a lot of horrendous messes to clean up after this legislation. But my colleagues need to understand the moves, as my colleague from Washington State has said, cut both ways. I yield the floor.
That's very true. Well said, Ron. That's not going to make any sense to MAGA either, but well said. Oh, Michelle, thank you so much for the $15 on Venmo. Blue hearts to you too. I appreciate it. I missed you guys so much and I miss doing this. I hope as we all slowly lose our minds this week, watching our future, our children's future, our children's future be robbed so that rich people can have more in this country, that hopefully I can provide some sanity with the people's receipts. It's like I needed a break, but then I also realized this provides me, missing you guys also is a problem. Okay, here's Sheldon Whitehouse. I love Sheldon Whitehouse.
In this place where big money now rules and in which fakery is now the order of the day and numbers no longer have to be real, there is one point that stands out. And that is that the fakery on the floor is belied by the language of the bill. If these assertions were true, they would not need to raise the debt limit. In this place where
That's so beautiful. That's so beautifully said. Like, I honestly we should all study this soundbite, take it and repeat it. I mean, if you're someone listening who debates or you need, by debate, I mean, screams at your family members at the dinner table, whatever, that is the ultimate truth. If in fact, all these false claims and fake math and delusion, the conservatives are now saying is true, was in fact true, there would be zero need to raise the debt ceiling. Both things can't be true, right? If you're going to generate all this revenue and in doing fake math, the deficit's not raising 3.9 trillion or 3.4 trillion, depending which estimates you look at, it's zero. If any of this is true, then don't worry about the debt ceiling. Like, so simple, yet so effective. I love Sheldon Whitehouse. Now, good Lord, Senator Flip-Flop, dear Lord Jesus Christ, what is Senator Flip-Flop? Lindsey Graham. And I say this all the time. Lindsey Graham, if you don't know, he was like, I'm born and raised Phoenician. I'm from Arizona. We love John McCain. And I disagreed with his politics, but Arizonans, we don't speak ill of John McCain. And if you don't know anything about Lindsey Graham, who's a senator from South Carolina, I used to describe Lindsey Graham when I would watch him as and I don't even mean this offensively. It was like he was John McCain's shadow. Wherever John McCain was, there was Lindsey Graham. He was like a little happy laugh dog who's like, yeah, this is my friend John McCain. I'm following him around and I agree with him. And it's like, ever since Trump started attacking McCain, had brain cancer and no longer is with us. It's like Lindsey Graham has been lost in a way I have never seen him. It's like he's wandering around like a puppy looking for an owner, but no one wants him. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And Lindsey Graham on the Senate floor is truly one of the weirdest things I have ever seen. Like this, you'll see what I'm talking about in a second, but like at least he had one like sign he made. Then he starts he has like signs that don't mean anything that looks like he scratched like in dark with like, I don't know, a pencil. Oh, thank you, Roman Catholic, for the super chat. Hi, Felice. Missed you so much. I missed you too. Thank you so much for the super chat. You're amazing. Okay, so Lindsey Graham is having a rough go, and as he always is. But at least his first sign made some sense. Wait, am I going? Oh, yeah, I almost went backwards.
Judd Gregg, really smart guy, former budget chairman, said the chairman of the budget committee declared the new baseline under a new budget. The budget chairman has a right to do that. That's what I'm doing. I'm setting the numbers.
Again, that's not true. I mean, not to say the quote, I'm not saying someone didn't say that out loud. There's zero precedent for this, but this is what I didn't want to bury the lead, but I thought you could hear it from him first. If you're wondering who Trump got to bend over backwards and do something and do fake math that makes no sense, that no accountant would ever approve of, that is trying to fool the American people, to drive us all into debt and create a huge transfer of wealth to the top of the economy.